alphabetical order, starting with Beam. Right. So now we are live pretty much, and I think we're all set to go. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining in for this Hack for India demo day, an event made possible thanks to Mr. Anirudh Malpani, who's here with us. The event started out as a tweet, to be very honest, a kind of a frustration that comes out when we use digital properties that the government has or government-related agencies have. And Nishit kind of reached out to him and said, hey, can we do something about it? We have a hackathon platform specifically focused on UX. We are UX Hack. Me and Nishit are the co-founders and the only full-time employees. We're proud of that because we are a remote startup before this whole pandemic started, and we've been remote from that day. We've done 50 plus hackathons on our platform. We've done large hackathons with companies like IRCTC and very, very small ones as well. But our intent is to improve the digital infrastructure, so to speak, in India as well as globally. That's our intent. So we also help participants, improve skills. We see some of them are here as well who participated in previous events. And we have a fantastic jury that we've lined up for this event. Mix, not just UX designers, one would expect that. We've got people from the domain, from venture, and from from a company that actually optimizes UX, so to speak. So I'll introduce you to each of them. We have Ankita Agarwal, who is a interaction designer. Very humble title, but if you see her bio, you'll see that she's got a vast experience in UX. So Ankita, over to you. A little bit about yourself and what you're looking forward to in this.
Yeah, thank you for that overwhelming introduction, Akshay. And you already know my name, everybody. I'm Ankita. I am a graduate I've done my master's in design from NID. And then post that, I've worked in different companies like Make My Trip, and I have worked in a startup which was also focused on a very, very Indian problem. And overall, the NBU space, which is the next billion user space, is very, very close to my heart. And that's also one of the core area I'm working in Google. We are working on the problem of making money simple for people in Google Pay. So I think today's hackathon will be very interesting to see because I have been with Google Pay for 2 years, and I've been in and out and understanding all those technicalities which go behind a payment app. And honestly, it will be interesting to see that how people have great ideas. And don't worry, I will not take them for Google Pay. I will leave it for me only. And I would definitely like to see some real good thinking in terms of, because what happens is people get carried away by redesigning apps, and especially if you have a bad looking app, people just concentrate on the visual design part. So we would really like to see some ideas on the user experience part, because user experience is a combination of both interaction and visual design. So yes, looking forward for those ideas here. And also the GST portal. I've never used the portal, but I'm sure I've used the income tax portal, so I know how painful it will be. It will be pretty much the same. So yes.
Great intro. And Google Pay. I mean, all of you guys, if you want, you can ping Ankita later on for her insights on Google Pay. I would love to get some insights. I mean, fantastic experience on the Google Pay app. Next, we have Amit, who we've interacted with previously as well. We did a challenge on DigiLocker. It was one of our own in-house challenges, and Amit was kind enough to connect us to people at Meti. We had a good conversation with them as well. But I don't know much about that apart from the fact that he is the co-founder of SlideShare as well. So Amit, over to you. Little intro about, I don't think an intro is needed, but a little intro about you and what you're looking forward to from these young ones in this event. And you know a lot more how to manage government departments, people. Any insights on that before we start?
Right. So, by way of introduction, so I was part of the founding team at SlideShare. And I exited SlideShare in 2014, and then in a somewhat serendipitous turn of events, I ended up working for the government, although that wasn't an explicit plan per se. So think of it a little bit like a bolt from the blue. And more specifically, I was handling a bunch of digital technology infrastructure projects for the government under the Digital India platform, and I was based at the Ministry of Electronics and IT, their office in New Delhi. Now, with regard to this particular event, I think this is a great initiative. I think it goes without saying that there's a lot to be desired in terms of government applications. And one of my experiences once I started working in the government was that government as an entity, understands projects very well, but they have very little understanding, or they have very little intelligence of if you talk to them about things like products, if you talk to them about design, if you talk to them about user experience. I think things in 2022 are better than what they were in 2015. So you can clearly see even that ecosystem is gradually kind of improving. Plus, there are also other initiatives in the government that you will shortly hear about, which will kind of give you the confidence that at least now the government at least understands what do you actually mean by design and UX, right? So love to kind of go through the demos today and take a look at what the suggestions are, and I'm sure some of that could be channeled up to the government folks in some way, and I'm happy to do that.
That's the kind of insight we want, right? I mean, there's something coming. So we're always hopeful that something better will come. I guess Kovin and Arukya Setu are good examples. I mean, pretty much improved experience. And all of us have got our vaccines through that. So yeah, there's definitely an improvement. Yeah, even there could be even better things. But now coming to Mr. Malpani, please do. I mean, this is the first time I'm interacting. Nishit has interacted with you previously as well. But why is it? So somebody asked me, we were doing a Q&A with, shout out to creators of product. They are a community partner. They asked us, why actually are you doing this event? I mean, you're not the government. You're not, why are you doing this? My same question to you. I kind of answered it based how best I could, but what is your intention behind posting this?
Okay, so, I think all of us are citizens of this country, and India is supposed to be the IT powerhouse of the world. And it sometimes breaks my heart that when you deal with the digital interfaces which the government provides, even though we have so much talent, the interfaces are so terrible. And I mean, it's a complete waste of time, energy, frustration. And sometimes you wonder whether it's deliberately designed for some reason or not. So again, I believe in positive intent. Yeah. And I believe that people actually want to improve it. Perhaps they don't know any better. And I think if we're not part of the solution, we are part of the problem. And I don't like this attitude of citizens being, I'm so powerless and helpless. And as Indians, we love whinging and whining. But I think we also need to step up and be creative and say, hey, we can do better. And one of the way we can do better is provide solutions. What happens to those solutions afterwards is very hard to say. Sometimes people complain about the government bureaucracy, but let me tell you, corporate bureaucracy is 100 times worse. Because just because you create a beautiful design to then get your boss to approve it, who then has to get his boss to approve it, who then has to get the finance department to agree, who then has to get the IT department to, that's all equally bad. My limited point is just designing cool stuff is not enough. As Ankita said, you've got to do your user research, but it doesn't end there also. After creating the design, you need to be able to sell that concept because no one likes changes. Yeah. Why do you want to rock the boat? We don't want to introduce bugs or all kinds of excuses. From my perspective, as an angel investor, I think there's a lot of potential in Indian youth, and we want to give them this platform. So I consider this as one of the experiments which I'm running, and I'm hoping that that experiment will be successful so that we can run lots more.
All right, great. All the inspiration that you need to the participants. Small little brief to you again. Once I've already said this, but I'll repeat it again. You guys have 5 minutes to present. We'll be going in alphabetical order, so that will mean Ayush will be the first to present. We'll go with Beam and then GST portal. We have 5 minutes to present. At the end of 4 minutes, I will sound you an alarm, which is the Apple tone. If you've heard it before. But if you've not, this is how it sounds like. I hope you heard that. At 4 minutes, that means you've got 1 more minute. So you need to wind up quickly. Otherwise, I'm going to stop sharing for you myself. And then we'll move on to the Q&A. Judges have 5 minutes to ask you questions, doubts, anything, any clarifications, maybe even slight hints on feedback. We'll have a feedback kind of towards the end once everybody's done. And then we'll move on to the next one. That's how we'll go about it. We'll start with Ayush then. If everybody said any questions, if you have, please, this is the time to ask. Others, we can get started. Judges already, you got your sheets, you got your scoring, and all the members here, participants ready. Okay, so over to you, Ayush. You have the screen to yourself. You have your microphone on. One more thing, one last thing. In case you're presenting, please do keep if possible, keep your camera on so that, it's there part of the video. And if you're not presenting, make sure your microphone is off. So as in case there's echo, etc., that's cut out and makes a good quality stream. All right. Over to you, Ayush. Your 5 minutes will start as soon as you start presenting. Did Ayush talk? I think he did. Give me an event where there is no technical issue. So I was just discussing before this, when we were doing this IRCTC act, it's so easy to manage. Acha, theek hai, inko side mein leke, we'll have a conversation and then we'll manage 5 minutes. In the virtual world, that's not possible. And we did give people a chance to, test it out 15 minutes before, and yet we have this. Ruchira, in case you want to take a shot, Ruchira is ready. Ayush, if you join in, we'll come to you afterwards. Ruchira, since she is ready, you can go ahead. Judges, Ruchira is presenting now. So the second person, we'll take up Ayush afterwards. Go ahead, Ruchira.
Yeah, hi. My name is Ruchira. So I'm an entry-level designer, and my task was the Beam task. So the context has already been given, but just to go ahead with my task. So right now we can see that a lot of users flock to third-party apps like PhonePe, Paytm, or Google Pay. So in my task, I've tried to understand what is the differences and in terms of the other apps that the users really appreciate, and try to bridge the gap in terms of visually enhancing the look and feel, and especially focusing on the payment process and trying to streamline it. So that was my process. And in the target audience, in a general overview, we have generally young adults or college going students who use UPI on a regular basis for short-term payments like for Uber or Swiggy. We have the people who are in the mid 30s who find it as a more accessible and a secure way of payment. And then we also have the Kirana store owners or the small business people who need to use UPI on a regular basis for all kind of customer transactions. So these are the three of the most used apps, and I'll try to uh, like point out the features that the users has seen as must have. So based on the user reviews that I came across in Play Store and other areas. So when Paytm, PhonePe, and Google Pay, few things that we see that all the conceivable features are laid out on the first page itself. So if there is recharge, pay bills, paying bills, all of that are laid out. And then we see that the information hierarchy is very clear, like the main operations, that is scanning and paying or transferring money, that's right at the top, even for Google Pay or Phone Pay. And switching accounts, adding money or adding bank accounts, that is as well made very accessible for users. And while they are doing the transaction, one of the features that's very much appreciated is having a clear view that from which account they're debiting the money from, being able to check balances, being able to switch accounts if they need to. So based on that, the user review, this was I did it among my peers, and based on the review in Play Store. So the points were pretty similar based on QR code viewing or accessibility of the features, and being able to switch accounts, rewards, and offers. So I read one of the research online which said that almost 60% of the female users who are using digital payment apps, 60% of them are using it because of rewards, because of the cashback offers that are there, which are not very clear when we are using Bheem, for example. And many of them want to have a clear way to share their invoices or their transaction history and have a clear look at it. So moving on, and I have tried to break that might look bit off. So for our homepage, as we can see this scan and the send button, which is on the right side. So it's not very, when you open the app, it's not very clear or intuitive. And if the user is scanning the app in a F or a Z direction, it doesn't really fall in that pattern. And as you were seeing in the other apps that are main operations being scanning or paying or checking balances. So while we are here, we can see that those are not laid out in our first line of operation. With our personal UPI ID, that it's something that a user can miss. And if we go down, we have the offers, the dashboard. So as a first time user, it doesn't really give me an account, a context about what is there and about what are the offers. So I might not be much interested to click on it. If you are moving on to the payment process for sending money, Here, the sending money to contacts or to accounts and IFSC has been clubbed together, which might be confusing for a first-time user. And it might be difficult for the user to understand if the user is UPI ready, like how it becomes sometimes difficult for us to understand if the person is already on WhatsApp or not. And then when we are sending money as well, here the app asks us to fill in the IFSC code manually, which might be a tedious process for somebody. They have to switch from this account and go to another page and might fall out of the user journey. And moving on, when we are sending the money, so it doesn't specify to me as a user that from which account is it being debited from. So I might be having two accounts linked to the same app, and I'm not sure that what is the account that it's being debited from. And the transactions, with the transaction history, we see that the information is very clubbed together, which might be getting busy for the eye. And the filter button, which is actually very helpful, but for a small time business owner, they might not be very aware of what the filter button just stands for, as much as anybody who is a tech savvy person. And then once the payment is done and it shows us the invoice, here it doesn't give us the option
Virtually, you
of
have a minute.
sharing it.
You have a minute to
Yeah,
go.
I'll
I
go
know
on
you
to
have
my solution.
many more slides to go, so you can step it up faster.
Yeah. I'll go on to my solution. So this is the one that I designed. So right on the homepage, the primary operations are laid out, and here it shows the primary bank account and the UPI ID. And in case the user wants to switch, they can switch it right from the first page itself. On the second bar, we have the personal bank accounts that are linked, and adding a new account is easier. They can view their own QR code as well. And I've introduced the wallet since that makes transactions easier. In some cases, we have seen with PhonePe or Paytm. So if the user clicks on scan and pay, it shows them the image around, and they can also click on any other payment method, and they do not have to go back to the home page. On sending money to their contact, it gives us an option of making any contact favorite. They click on any one of the contact, it makes the process much more secure by showing the account is verified, the number and the BHIM user since when. So click on pay, then we can select on which account they want to select it from. They can add an account as well. They can start the payment, and they can check balance or change the account before the payment. And after the success, there is also an option of splitting it with friends or repeat payment. They can click on view invoice, and from here they have a button of sharing it directly, so they do not have to take the pain of taking a screenshot. And in a similar way, we also have the option of transferring to bank account, where it gives them an option of either a UPI ID or account. And once a person searches for the account, so
Do you have
can I
many
go
screens
ahead
to
or
present?
refresh?
How much do you have?
Just a bit.
Okay.
2 minutes.
15 seconds, 20
Yeah.
seconds, please.
Yeah. Okay, good. Got it. So for the account numbers here, they can go and switch their banks, and they do not have to fill up their IFSC, and they can just search it up. Once that is filled, and once they fill up their name, it will be showed as verified by the bank. They can proceed to the payment, which is a similar process. And the another one is sending money to self, where they can select any one of the processes. And in the homepage, other than the scan, we have the categories, where it gives us a context about what is there to offer and the popular apps. And then this is the transaction page, where again they can switch accounts and they can filter. And I've broken it down into credited, debited, and rewards for the user to scan it easily. And if it's pending, then an alert symbol. And if it's a successful, then a green symbol. Yeah.
Okay, great. Nice work. Congratulations already, because you're in the shortlist, so you're already in the top 3. My personal views I'll share later, but I think it's pretty good work. And the fact that you were able to wind that up. I was really skeptical, itne sare slides kaise honge, but you've done well to put it in 5 minutes. Judges, you can go ahead and score, or you can do it later. Ayush, are you ready? Is your microphone issue sorted?
Can you hear my voice?
Yeah, loud and clear. Okay. So rather than press the spacebar, just unmute yourself, Ayush. Let's try the top.
I have unmuted already myself.
Okay, then there's an issue with Zoom. It shows you're muted. Okay, great. So if you're ready,
no, I have joined with another ID. That's why. So my mic is on from that ID.
All right. So you can go ahead. The screen's all yours. Please do go ahead. Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Judges, do you have any questions for Ruchira? I'm so sorry. Skip my mind totally. Any questions, anything that you'd like to ask her about the process, about the screen that you'd shown? Amit, Ankita, Mr. Malpani, anything that you'd like to ask, please?
One question is basically, have you taken inspiration from all the apps and put them all together? Is that the way you've done it?
Yeah, I tried to do it like that, like the things which I thought that when I was reading the user reviews, few of the features that the users appreciated. So I tried to take the best out of all of that.
Okay. No, I think fair enough. I think it's important that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And if there is a best of class from different people, it just makes sense to put them all together so that you get the advantage of familiarity. So people are used to using that same kind of sequence, but you're putting them all together in a better overall offering. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ruchira, I would just like to know one thing. So, first of all, good work. Just wanted to understand what was the biggest pain point which you were solving for? Like, what was the biggest pain point you found in Beam, which you tried to solve from your design?
More than the payment process, because that is kind of similar in all the apps. I think for the home screen, when I look at it, I'm not able to find the operations right away. Like if I want to send money or something, because when I after the banner image, it says, bill payment or recharges, and the scanning or paying is as much, it's easier or it's more accessible in the other apps. So for me, making that process, making the homepage accessible and one click thing was much more of a problem. Like if I am on the first page, I want to know that what are all the categories or range of users that Beam offers to me.
Right, right. And how do you make sure that because there are different types of users for every app. There are certain people who would only come to send money or scan QR. There would be certain people who would probably send money. They would not send so much money to people, but they might just come for bill payment and recharges. So how do you make sure that the hierarchy for everybody is catered to?
So I came across a research paper actually online which said that 35% of the users they do scan and pay, and followed by requesting money, then check balance, and then the last one was sending money to yourself or to bank account. So based on that, I actually laid it out on the first box.
Fair, fair. Thank you.
Yeah, I had a quick question. One of the problems with these payment apps is how do they handle, the payment failure cases? And they tend to be quite a few actually. So what is the messaging you give? How do you degrade gracefully? So did you kind of try to look into that at all while you were designing your screens?
No, that's a good point. I did not work on the error cases, but then only one thing that I was seeing that for Beam, many users were saying that they did not have a good customer service whenever they had any issue with the payment. So in the last while, like in my design, after the invoice, there is a message that if they have any issue, they can raise a query, like we have with Google Pay as well. Like whenever we are done with it, if we have any issue, we have a CTA there to go to customer support.
Okay, fine.
All right, great. Thanks. Thank you, Ruchira. Thanks to the judges for the questions. Next up, Ayush, you there? Yeah, please go ahead. And as I mentioned, you'll hear a tone once you start presenting. At 4 minutes, you'll hear a sound. After that, you have a minute to present. Okay, please do go ahead.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll start with my primary research. This is the persona that I've created. One is Avdesh Rai. His goal was, since he does a lot of payment online, so he wants a seamless experience and good content discoverability in payment tab. Also, there should be a proper date and time diversion on transaction screen. His some frustration are sometimes it becomes difficult to spot pay button whenever he's in hurry. Also, he struggled to find check balance icon when he's cope up with many tasks. There is one more this persona, Ipsit Singh. He is a teacher. He kind of also feel same kind of problems. And this is the user journey. After doing my research and Q&A, I created this user journey. There are mainly six steps: mode of payment, search, recall, receiver, verify receiver information, click and type in, payment success and unsuccess. There are two outcomes, and take a screenshot. So this is what action they do. But I'll skip to this part. I'll come to the payment success and payment unsuccessful. When payment is successful, sender take a screenshot, send it, save it, or click or share button. When is unsuccessful, sender do try leave or leave the transaction. What are the thought process behind them? Is that they type in for click pay and type in, they type in for selected bank, payment success, they feel good. It is a overall good experience. But when payment is unsuccessful, they feel agitated. At that point, they need a proper call to action button, like pay again, retry, that kind of thing. So what are the pain points that I have derived from these things? One pain point is in medium of payment, that sometimes it becomes difficult to spot, scan, and pay button. And sometimes by mistake, user type pin instead of amount. When payment is unsuccess, then it creates frustration. By what means we can lower down this frustration and create a good experience overall? Most of the time, user take screenshot as payment is done, but it requires two button to be clicked. So how can we make that process simple? Because whenever a user is outside, outdoor, or shopping, he's also already caught with many things. He might be holding something in his hand, so he's not free to do that task freely. So from that point, I take out some opportunities. I'll talk about opportunities in coming section. Also, there is a user survey. So I asked my user, which app do you use the most for daily money transfer? 12 people have said out of 25 that they use Paytm, then Google Pay, and then followed by Phone Pay. So I also asked three reasons why you use that particular app. The most common sentence or statement, we can say, it is easy to use, it is easy, convenient, UI is good because of its availability. A lot of people have said easy transaction, but we can see here that there are a lot of easy, and easy. So this is what people want: an easy interface, clean, and a light interface, clean UI. This is what people are saying. And one feature that you use the most. So scan and pay, 18 people have said out of 25. Second most feature that they use was pay to mobile phone, and something that annoys. So here I asked them about the pain point. So I already mentioned some pain points. So 9 people have said that sometime I struggle to check balance when in hurry, followed by 7 people have said often find it difficult to find pay button or any call to action button. There were some other pain point, but it was related to backend properties. And I asked that, have you ever used Bhim Pay app? So 12 said yes, 13 said no, but there were many reasons. People said that don't need it, I don't feel it's need, not popular. So reasons were like this. Also, I interacted with many people, and I went to shops, I went to vendor carts, and I talked to customer and shopkeepers. And I draw this conclusion that user interface of Bheem lacks in content discoverability. It is tough to discover content offers and offers that or good offers that Bheem provide, and transition and animation in Bheem is also not up to the mark. Also, bill payments app doesn't look good at all. It is cluttered and iconography is misplaced. That what I felt. That overall affect the user experience of Bheem app. Now this is the redesigned version of Bmap. This is the home screen. So I tried to come up with the Fish law. So I make this box.
Ayush, you have about a minute to go. Okay.
Okay, I made this box. In this box, there are 4 main option. I made this check balance or this fit law. Fit law says the large and close elements are easier to interact with. This is the second screen. I also explained offer more deeply to drive engagement. I also work on the discoverability of the content like pay bills. There are more options on the pay bills. Then color. Why did I choose this color? Because these color look light, simple, and clean. And this is what our user wanted, clean UI. There is a zoom, there is also a zoom button on this, because in cases of pandemic where people are supposed to maintain a social distance, this feature would be helpful to zoom from their phone to the QR code. This is the payment flow screen. And this is the menu. Uh, this is how menu looks like. There is a QR button. There is a QR code, 3 call to action buttons. This is the payment setting option. This is how we can see our balance. Pay to number screen, pay to UPI ID screen, pay contacts. And I have also tried to maintain visual hierarchy in this. I have thoroughly checked other apps, Paytm, Google Pay, and I have derived from that app also. This is bill pay screen. This is my bill screen. And this is the process of how a person would recharge their phone. First search about the plan, then type the amount, then select the bank, and then recharge is done. And this is the COVID dashboard. And this was it. And this is my secondary research. This is how I looked to the app. I took the screenshot and I understood that what are the problem in Beam app. I found that the blue color is overused in some of the screen and it looks much heavier. So that's why I removed this color from my redesigned app. And this is payment section comparison, where these all screen are payment screen. This is Google Pay screen, Paytm screen, and Bhim screen. So in Bhim screen, we can see that there are very dull UI.
Ayush, how much more is there? Time's up. Is there more?
Also, no, I'm done with this.
Anything else? If you have a 10, 15, 20 seconds.
Okay, so I did this research from internet research. This is from school. What did people say? This was an article, and this article is about what does people say about Bhim. So a manager from shop said, "What is the USP of Bhim? Why do I use Bhim?" Also, one person said, Dinesh Kumar said, didn't know about how to use it and functionality. One said that unaware about the app Bhim, or one more person said would use Bhim if someone explains the functionality. So these were the reason that people were facing one of the functionality. Also, they wanted to use a clean UI, a very one that they are well versed with. Also, they want a visual hierarchy so that nothing feel like that they are using a new app. So this was my presentation, and thank you.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Ayush. Nice for getting all that through, especially the long user research and getting all those points out. Okay. Any questions from the jury members?
I have. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Please go ahead. Please.
Yes.
I mean, what happens when people, how do you manage when there are senior citizens? Because it's often harder for some of the older people like me to be able to use apps like this.
Okay, so how would senior citizen use this app? So mainly I found that senior citizen are reluctant to use any Paytm apps, any payment apps. So what they do, either they only receive money or they just pay. That's why I made that box in the prototype. That what I applied fits law there, and I also only placed the most important option like scan UPI, pay to contact, and pay to phone in that box, so that it is easier for them to spot all these options.
Okay, is there any reason you don't have any help section at all or onboarding?
I would be having, yes, yeah, true. I would be having help section, but it will be in menu. So I have not made that screen for that.
So, Mr. Malkani, we gave them a context of solving for the payment process predominantly. Otherwise, there are a lot of sections that they could, go ahead and improve. Just to make sure that, because we gave them 1 week, 1.5 weeks to work on it. That's why we kept those parts out. Others, I'm sure Ayush has already gone and done other screens that we did not ask. So yeah, that's the reason.
Yeah, I had a question.
Please.
Yes.
So good to see the research that you've done. Now, I had a question regarding that. See, I mean, given the fact that the Bheem app is a government app versus, let's say, the phone pays and the Google pays, which are coming obviously from, private companies. The fact that it is the government app itself is kind of a little bit polarizing from a user experience perspective. Some people would say, because it is a government app, I will not use it. Whereas there is other bunch of people who say, I trust the government and I kind of, use it over others. Did this factor at all show up in the research that you were doing? And did you actually think about this factor in terms of the design?
I think as I've talked to the people, I have not received such type of thing where people reluctant to use because this is a government app. They said many people said, I asked why don't you use Bheem? So many said because of the payment failure, but there was no such thing that because of government thing. So it was not there in my research. At least I didn't observe that in my interview.
Okay, fine.
Ayush, I have a question.
Yes.
By the way, first of all, good work on the research here. I see you did a lot of research, and especially from the survey, you've taken this point that a lot of people said it's easy to use. Did you get a chance to dig deep into understanding what exactly do the users find it easy to use? Is it faster? Is it easy on discoverability? What exactly is that easy to use, which the users said?
Yes. So also I did a little bit of usability testing to some app. So I think it was one thing that is discoverability in the app. The option could be discovered in just a second. Also, the payment process was very fast. As we do a payment in Paytm, so it tells by their side that your payment is done in 3 seconds. So it creates a kind of feel that yes, it is fast. So this kind of thing collects up and improve the user experience. And this is what then people say when I interview them. So this is what they say on this kind of things. So this is basically the
Right.
discovery part.
All right. And did they even mention that, okay, so see, there could be two reasons of a payment app being faster. One is that the number of pages and the steps are less and the friction is less for the user. So they can click on options faster and move forward and complete the payment. The second part could also be that the Bheem app itself is lagging and there's some bit of latency on every page load and everything. So
Sorry,
basically
your
overall your
voice is
payment takes
breaking a
time.
little bit.
Sorry, can you hear me better
I
now?
can't hear the last one. Yes.
Yeah. Can you hear me better?
Yeah, better now.
Okay. So I was saying that is it about latency, which is a problem with Bheem, and that's why the other apps feel faster? Or is it actually the friction on Bheem which makes the other app feel faster?
I think it is not about the latency, but there is friction because when I checked this Bheem app screen, so it looks so monotonous, and there was as if there was nothing new. It was like we are 5 years back using an app that is made 5 years back, and those kind of screen create a friction. So it was not about latency, but it was friction that I have felt and other
All
people
right.
have also felt.
All right. Okay. One piece of advice. So maybe an app can actually feel like overall experience, or let's say the overall UI of the app can feel that, okay, this is not something which is very latest. Like if you see today, the whole trend is going towards clean UI, flat UI. So the app may still visually look like it's made 5 years ago, but friction could be also from the fact that it's difficult for me to understand where do I have to tap to go to the next screen, or maybe there are too many distracting elements on the screen that I actually end up doing something else instead of going in the payment flow, and that's also could be a friction. So when you are measuring friction, you have to see how much time the user is spending on each page to take a decision to move further, and that will decide how much friction you have on the app. So yeah, whenever you are doing a next redesign, please concentrate on that kind of friction.
Okay.
Right. Great. So good points on friction. I think both points are very valid. mindset friction and the friction of the actual. So Beam actually, to be very honest, when you have the payment, Ankita's point is very valid. They have 2 CTS for some reason. One is a minor, one is the, sorry, hints to one more presentation is ongoing. Maybe we can discuss it sometime later. But there is that friction. She's got a very valid point on the exact last page of the payments. Okay, Upala, are you there? I do not see you here. Are you there? Could you just give a shout?
Yes, I'm there.
Yeah, can you turn on your camera if it's possible?
Actually, I'm currently operating on my mobile network, so.
All right, all the best then.
Yeah.
Let's hope the network, whichever operator it is steady on it. Please do go ahead. You can turn off your sharing, Ayush, so that Upala can go. Yeah. Go ahead, Upala. You got 5 minutes to present, and at 4 minutes, I'll sound a buzz. Okay.
Okay. I hope my screen is visible.
Yeah, it's visible.
Cool. Hello, everyone. Firstly, thank you. Thank you for giving me this wonderful opportunity. To introduce myself, my name is Tahir. I recently graduated from Tripartite Bhubaneswar, and I'm currently working as a product designer at coding.
Upala, could you speak up a little loud, slightly loud? There's a slight so some words might get lost. If you could just have the microphone slightly close, that'll help.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So to start with, I think Beam is one such app that we all installed on our phones in the early stages of the digital payment era, and felt a bit frustrated. So few problems that we can notice on Beam app are technical issues, accessibility issues, and not having discounts or offers that current competitors like Google Pay or Phone Pay is having. So the aim here is to improve the overall look and feel of the payment flow in the Beam app. As designers, we do have certain principles. We just cannot, we should not modify saying the designs drastically without actually knowing the pain points and the frustration that a user has. So I think the assumptions are the biggest enemies here. So I try to solve this in 2 approaches. The first approach is through app analysis. I first started with analyzing the app, figuring out the low hanging fruits that are obvious, that are pinpointed, that disobey the current web standards or the mobile standards. Few things that I found out were pretty obvious. So I usually cannot identify if a person is having a Beam account or not until or unless I click on that person's profile. And there are a few technical issues that were there. I think so after this, I did a heuristic evaluation to find usability flaws by judging it on few principles, which makes user interfaces easy to use. So there are few things that I identified which obey the heuristic flaws, such as the visibility of system status, where I cannot actually see whether a person is having a Beam account or not unless I click on that person. So another thing that is consistency and standards. I see a little verify option on the search box, which doesn't really make sense. And few issues are when a user is on the payment in a payment flow, when he's on a screen of selecting a particular bank, he or she is not able to recognize the bank through a number. So if you see on a screen where people are actually entering the amount or selecting their bank, so Beam have a account number mentioned, but not the name of the bank just mentioned. So I think that kind of allows user to recall that rather than recognize the bank. So going ahead, I conducted a small user testing to collect the qualitative data through the 5 users. So I connected this with 5 users who are familiar with digital payments but haven't really used Beam. So after gathering all the feedback, I kind of colored the similar type of issues with the similar color so as to make them easier for me to address the issues. And I started defining the solution to each problem on screen level. So these are the key findings that I found out. We'll be looking them in the next screen. I then filter them out based on the severity that it has, the number of users who have mentioned that issue. So you can see users who are not able to identify a person is having a Beam account, or under the bank transfer section, people weren't really able to type on the full bank name. They need to type on the full bank name rather than typing a shortcut. If I take an example, like a person needs to type the full name, such as State Bank of India, to actually discover the bank. And so yeah, I'll directly address the solutions here.
Upala, you got a minute to go. Okay?
Yep. Okay. So the main important problem was users weren't really identify if person is having Beam account. So for that, I added a small icon through which people can probably identify the person is having an account or not. Moving on to the few problems. So one technical problem is that users have to click on the amount text box to actually enter the amount. But I think that could be handled in the technical edge cases. And another major issue was that people weren't able to identify from which bank the amount is actually getting debited. So for that, I actually kept few cards of the person's bank, so you could actually recognize them through the cards. So a small interaction for that would probably be like this. He can probably easily select between the cards and recognize the bank through which they want their money to be debited. And there are few issues that were there on the final payment success screen, and user has this issue that there isn't a very delightful factor that is present on the success screen. So right on his screen, if you see at the original Beam success screen, user have to actually go through all the information to identify to which bank the money has been debited, or how much amount has been debited. So here the information is kind of clear. You can see the amount is being debited, or the person whom you have paid, and you can probably check the balance, and you can pay again to the same person, or you can probably share the receipt of the particular payment. So if you consider the existing flow of the Beam app, a user in a best case scenario, the user have to go through 5 clicks to actually reach to the success screen. He has to click on send and then click on the person's profile. Then he'll have to enter the amount. In this particular screen, he have to click on 2 times to actually send the money. Then he has to confirm this payment and then reach the success screen. So in the redesign flow, I kind of minimized this flow to 3 clicks, whereas the person needs to click on send money. He'll then have to click on pay option. He'll choose the amount, he'll choose the bank, he'll go to the final success page. And here are the different flows for that, where bank transfer will have a separate flow, and transfer through UPI have a separate flow, and scan and pay have a separate flow. So here are the screens before the actual Beam app, and here are the screens after the redesign.
You're done, or you need more time?
Yep, I'm done.
All right, nice. Okay, you can turn. You can keep it on. So, jury members, any questions? Ankita, Amit, Mr. Malpan, any questions?
I think one of the things we should actually highlight the fact that because it's government of India, it can be trusted. I know sometimes the impression which people have with the government is in case things go awry, there's going to be no one whom you can escalate matters to. And perhaps that's got to be something which, we're more trustworthy than anyone else because we're the government. Just a thought.
Yeah, as Amit also mentioned, right, there is a polarization. In fact, personal view is that, since it's government and I don't want to give my data to the Googles and the PhonePes of the world, I use Beam. That's actually, I mean, I don't know how true it is for people, but yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah. Amit, any questions? Ankita, any questions?
Yeah, I would just like to ask one thing. So I see that you've chosen an interaction pattern for a multiple bank or a multiple payment option to be like a swipe thing. How how apt do you think it is for a payment app, especially because any kind of transaction is a very serious business, and especially when you're trying to choose which account your money is going to be debited from. A casual interaction like just a swipe may kind of land you to a wrong bank account, and in case if you have the same pin or something for that bank account, you are likely to get your money debited from the account you did not intend to. So exactly what is the problem you, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So the major aim was to, let people identify through which bank their money is going to be debited with a clear cut picture of the bank.
Yeah, I get your point. What you're trying to say, that you want the users to have like a very prominent visual of what the bank account is, but I'm trying to understand what value is this interaction pattern actually going to add.
I would say it's gonna add a really high value because people are actually getting updated. They are not the same. If you compare the people from the past 5 years and now, they are actually updating, looking for easier way to make the transaction, or some sort of interaction, that a delightful factors that they are looking in a particular apps. So I would say this might contribute to a good user experience. So yeah.
Okay, well, so let me just put it this way. See, most of the people have one single bank account, and that's what I don't want to share the data, but that's what predominantly we have also seen as payment apps, that most highest percentage of users keep a single bank account. Either they have a single bank account or they choose to keep a single bank account with these payment apps. So how does it look like for a user who has only added one bank account with the app?
So we'll be having a single card that is present on his payment screen.
Yeah, will it look selectable, or would it look like this is the payment method I'm paying from, or would it just look like it would look like a card image to me if I'm a single bank account user and there's no swipe interaction here for me?
So this is gonna look like a card, just a simple card.
Right. And do you think that would be an appropriate visual for a person who's paying, and would they understand what exactly is going on here when there is only a single card present?
Not exactly, but I think with a proper wording, we might indicate them the money is being debited from this card.
Okay, fine. I would like you to think a little more on this part later, maybe, and see what is the right interaction pattern. I get your intent here that you want to make the app look more simple and more, elegant while the user is choosing the payment method. But you can actually look at if this interaction pattern is usable or not.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Upal. I think Ankita was hinting towards certain things. Maybe once we are done with all the scores, maybe she can share some more insights on that. I'm pretty sure she has brilliant insights on putting a card right near where your finger most likely might. Is that what you're trying to indicate, Ankita? That it might be an incorrect interaction that may just end up swiping incorrectly, right at the bottom.
Yeah, you may end up swiping incorrectly. Plus, it's very difficult because I mean, you can produce colors and visuals to differentiate between multiple bank accounts, but you don't understand. You swiped and swiped, and when did it end, and where did you land back to again, and then selection and making that selection. I think it's a very complex pattern when it comes to choosing a payment method. It should be as simple. And I think there is a reason why pretty much every single app, even you can see Amazon or you can see Flipkart, everybody lays out the payment method in a linear fashion, in a list item way, for a certain reason.
Maybe we should have another separate session with Ankita and what's the best way how to have a payment page. So many insights on that. Okay, great. So we are done with these three. Let me just show you the problem statement for the GST portal, since some of you have not used it. In fact, even I have not used it. And my interaction with this page came through only because Nishit is like, boss, this page really needs work. So I don't have a screen here, but you guys can open it on your desktops. You can check out the GST portal site. And what we've asked them to do is pretty simple. A lot of the business, I mean, GST came in 2017, and this site I don't think has had any changes. Nishit, if you're there, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, has had any changes. And yet, as we're seeing, like more and more people are, because businesses are getting formalized, more and businesses have to now, kind of accept it and have to go through that. So everybody's going through. As a small business, we are also a very small business. We also go to that portal. There are a few things that are important to small businesses and some things that are completely irrelevant. I mean, with government websites, you generally have these very standard, placeholders that I don't know are for whom. They're definitely not for the users. And that is the intent of this, problem statement, that how can we make it better for people who are actually going to fund, not for the department who is maybe at that time in fanfare said, okay, let's just put a site and let's just do this. And we're not looking at the portal of the actual filing, because as Nishit told me, most of the people use automated tools like Tally, etc., etc. So the filing is not the problem that we are solving. We are trying to just a very, very simple and easy problem is just the homepage and what is important to a filer, to a company. That is what we are doing. And obviously small business, not large enterprises, small businesses. That is the intent of the next three presentations. I think we have Gunan, you're ready, right? Gunan Nair, you're ready with your deck?
Yeah.
Okay, just a break.
Yeah.
So Dr. Malpani, Ankita, and Amit, have you scored on the sheets like for the beam one? Because
if you need a minute, you can take a minute.
Yeah, you can take a minute to so that we can just have a logical closure to the beam.
Okay, sure.
So Ankita, I don't know if I can prod you on that, but since you're from Google Pay, I'd love to have a conversation on that. I'm sure others also, but whatever is possible. I mean, I know that it's not everything not shareable, but you were saying that most people have just one bank account. Why do you think that's the case? It's like, even I have, like when you were saying that I felt found. I have my main primary bank account, but I have not linked it with UPI. My fear is that, money will go out of it. And I do cycling, so I have one, account that I keep, that even if everybody takes the money from it, it's fine. But is that what is coming through your research, or because that's a brilliant insight. Like, because everybody, I think all the three presentations have said switch accounts. I have never clicked it because I don't have it, and mostly even if I had it, I'm not going to touch it. So is that something that you guys have found out, or what are the data?
So we have consistently seen that our users, and there could be multiple reasons to it. Like, let's say if somebody is a businessman, they will never link their current account to Google Pay. That's not the kind of account they would want. They will only want their savings account. So especially people who are in business, they would only want, and I'm not talking about the merchant app, I'm talking about the consumer app. So the merchant app definitely would have their current account, or maybe even there also they would have the savings account. So I think there are multiple reasons people actually, when they have multiple accounts, like even I have multiple accounts. So I keep one account as the expense account where I will make all the expenses from, and the other account is the savings account. So people try to probably just for the clutter of it, and these are just hypotheses. We don't really have I don't have a proper insight on why this is the case. And there are a lot of users in India who even have just opened one bank account because they feel that multiple bank accounts would create trouble for them, or they just have a faith in one single bank, so they don't see a purpose of opening two savings account in the same bank. So there could be multiple reasons, and that's one of the thing that's why we see that people have one bank account. And we also give, if you see pretty much all the payment apps, they've given you that add bank account right there. For the sole reason that if your bank, your payment fails due to your bank problem for some reason, you have another bank account to fall back to. And that's why that option is right there for the users to see. You can add more than one bank account. Probably people think that they cannot even add more than one bank account, because the notion of adding bank accounts is not something like adding cards that you can add multiple of them.
Yeah.
So I think there could be a lot of reasons why people have one single bank account.
Nice. So topic for doing user research on this as well, if somebody really wants to go in depth and try and understand. Okay. Amit,
I think we are done with.
You're done with this call.
Yeah,
All right.
now we can start.
Gunangi, so as I said, GST is the next. We got 3 decks on that as well. Gunangi is the first one to present. Gunangi, you can go ahead. You got 5 minutes once you start.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. My name is Gunangi, and the problem statement for the GST portal was to enhance the look and feel of the homepage. And this is what the current homepage looks like. And I was a new user when the problem statement came in. So, and after getting in some feedback, I think the main obstacles that as a user I feel on this homepage are that there's a lot of information overload, which leaves me feeling a little overwhelmed. Navigation is a problem because I can't identify the apparent CTAs, and I feel confused as to what I should be doing next. And thirdly, I feel there is a lack of a consistent design language, whether it's in terms of hierarchy visually, even in the typology, there's no hierarchy, icons, everything. I feel like some consistency could be achieved, which again goes back to the fact that, all your laws of similarity and recognition and recalling. So I will now show you my solution, which is what I've redesigned. So I've firstly structured the entire website into 5 sections. This is the first one, which is the hero section. Changes introduced basically are that the alert banner has been shifted right to the top. It's something that's important. Contrast here was something that I kept in mind so that it's easily readable. Secondly, I've introduced a search feature, which basically allows you to search for the entire information architecture of the website, which I believe a lot of people, whether they're new users, especially they're new users, would have a lot of queries. So that's something that I've introduced, which is currently lacking. Secondly, in the main navigation bar, once you hover over a section, you can therefore see all the subsections under it. I've also included a little summary or a synopsis of what that section means, because I believe when you are carrying out all these processes offline, usually if you're stuck somewhere, you can ask someone, like if you can't fill in something in a form, what does this mean? What can I do? So, which is something you can't do when you're working with a website. So if we kind of let the user know that if they go to registration, this is what you'll get. If you go to payments, this is what you get. This will lead to lesser frustration because they won't be clicking on something if they don't need to click on. So this was the thought for adding this information or a little synopsis. And of course, you get to know all the subsections under a particular section, therefore lesser clicks. So that was a change in the navigation bar. Secondly, if I'm a new user, I've given this little CTA here, which is that if you need help, you can directly jump to the FAQ section. If you need help navigating through the website, or if you're a new user, what should I be doing? How do I begin? And if you're a repeat user, then the login CTA or the track my application CTAs have been pushed to the right corner, top of the website. Secondly, the second section that I've demarcated is for taxpayers. Something else that I've kind of kept consistent is that when you hover over a button, which will lead you to another screen or another page in the information or the website, there is a visual demarcation in the state of the button so that the user knows that, yes, I would be moving away from where I'm currently at. Then the third section is the updates or what is new and what information the user should know about. So that's the third section. Here, I've followed a fairly simple and minimal design. I've tried to group, by following the law of grouping or the law of familiarity and similarity, you can easily distinguish that all this is for this particular notice, and the second part is the second notice, which I think is currently a problem. If you see, when I look at the dates here, it's very difficult to see which date is for which particular heading, and the user kind of has to make an effort to figure what date belongs to which particular notice. So I've kind of tried to use white spaces to demarcate information. The next section is upcoming due dates, wherein you can see like the basic overview gives you of the current month and the 2 months after that. Of course, you can navigate to the before or upcoming months. Also, visually, the dates that have gone by are shown differently than the dates that are yet to come, which currently, right now, all the dates seem the same. And of course, you can download as a PDF, which is an option that exists on the current website as well. And also, I think when you're talking about dates, I think a calendar format is something that usually people are familiar with. So giving them that kind of information in a similar format helps them, to relate that this is something that's a date. So a calendar kind of helps correlate. This is the FAQ section. What I've added here again is, I think the GST portal already has videos on the YouTube channel, which helps them, which basically are informative videos. And for a lot of people,
seeing videos, 1 minute to go.
Okay. Yeah, seeing videos is a better way of learning or absorbing information than just reading. So this is something that I've added, which currently is not there. You can embed videos which will help users again navigate through the processes or what the website or the portal has to offer. And lastly is the contact us and the footer section, which in terms of proposing any new features, there isn't much. It's just that I've designed it differently to make it come across as something that's just more simpler and easier to read. Lastly, also, I think there was a little thought that I gave to the hero graphic, is that I think for a lot of people who are making a shift to the digital or still coming to terms with the digital boom, or so we are calling it, if at a very psychological level, I think when users land on the page and see the term Digital India, I think till the time they get warmed up to the process, they would like to relate to something that's new, something that's elite, and so that will kind of help them feel special till the time they actually realize that for carrying out this process online is easier, until they actually warm up to the idea of doing all of this online. So I think, which is why I also changed the hero graphic, because I think the one that's currently on the website serves no purpose per se. So yeah, this is all that I have to offer. Thank you.
Serves no purpose per se. Let's see what people have to say. Okay, yeah, please.
I mean, I could be wrong.
Yeah. Okay, I think there'll be some nice questions. Yeah, I'm assuming there will be questions, but please go ahead, Amit. Mr. Malpani. Mr. Malpani, I'm sure you will have some thoughts. I mean, could you just place the current one so that the other one, the current website, you have a screenshot of that?
Yeah.
You wanted to split? Yeah. So, Gunangi, I'm very impressed. I mean, I just couldn't believe it was the same website we're looking at. So extremely well done. Just a quick question. Did you do any user research?
So I'll be honest, I honestly could not come up with a lot of people who are using the website. But my father is actually a chartered accountant, so I got to speak to a few people in his office who do the filing process. So I spoke to them, and of course I was a new user myself, so I think I drew insights from that.
Okay, great. Did you get anyone to actually try your site after you redesigned it? Would you get?
No, I haven't got to do that. I would love to do it though. I would love to do that.
I think it's a dramatic improvement. This makes a lot of logical sense, but obviously, it's tested before I could say anything. But I was very impressed. Thank you so much.
I think one thing that I did keep in mind was that, like you, I think, mentioned at the beginning of the session, that it's not just about having good visuals. I think sometimes it's just doing the bare minimum, and the idea is that it should be functional, right? Because like you said, the approvals come in and the finance comes in and all the team comes in. So I think the practicality of it and keeping all the stakeholders in mind is also very important when you're kind of proposing a solution. It's not just about the design, I think. There are a lot of things that you should also consider apart from that.
Amit?
Yeah. Hi. So very good work. I think, you've covered a lot of the informational aspects, the information design aspects of the portal. I think one question I had was, did you kind of try to understand that, the tax filers who are coming here, what are the tasks that they might be actually looking to fulfill, which is different from the informational needs, right? And, kind of maybe do 80-20 of which are the top tasks and how do you kind of accommodate that in your design?
Right. So I did, and I think that's why I added the track my application status separately. I think, like I said, I wasn't able to do a very extensive research, but when I did, like, I got the chance to speak to two people who are doing the filing process for my father, and he said that of course, login is that's because you log in and you see your own thing, but for them, tracking their application statuses is something that they do a lot. So currently they have to actually, if I may show you, you have to click under services, then they go under application status. It's actually 2 extra clicks for something that's a very recurring process. So, which is why for me, I actually added that as another CPA right at the top, because if I'm landing and that's the first thing I see, it's 1 click and I get my job done. So that was something that I added. But of course, to answer your question, I think if I would have been able to do more extensive research, I could have gone more in depth.
Okay.
But
Okay,
that's the max I could do right now.
There's 1 week and 1 week's work of design as well as, getting research. So we purposely kept it, narrow. Otherwise, these guys will go on for months and then they'll say, okay, abhi jo hai, wo theek hai. So we didn't want that, but good work. Yeah, come on. Ankita? Anything?
Yeah. Hi, Gunangi. Drastic transformation from obviously the current website. I was looking at the current website from your screenshots and I'm like, what the heck is this? The other apps look much better. So yeah, so I really like your approach of how you've broken down some of the key things which are there, especially how you just pointed out that the track my application status is at the top. My only question to you is that this concept of you putting the digital India part is very interesting, but as a prime real estate of any digital product like the app or website, the first fold, we call this the first fold, and the first fold is very, very important. It is the space which has to grapple the user's attention. So either it has to carry something very important, or it has to have that stark image for a product which you have to sell. So a GST website is really not any product which somebody needs to sell. So do you think you could have better used the space to put forward some of the most important things along with a good graphic rather than just having one graphic, which probably would not be, the user may feel a little clueless after looking at it?
True. Yeah, I think I could have. I mean, I think that probably was one of the challenges when I was finalizing my design, that, like I said, I've broken it down into sections, but maybe there's a section that is more important for a user and they might not want to scroll down where it currently I've placed in the website. And I think that was a challenge I faced, that maybe I did try that option, but for me personally, when I was looking at it, it was seeming a bit cluttered. And that was something that I was trying to solve through my solution. So maybe I think I don't have the expertise yet to kind of put forward something that's simple and at the same time answering this question that you put forward. But definitely, like you said, that this real estate is prime, and I could have given 2 or 3 more functions that the user would want to get away or get done immediately, for which they might have to scroll down right now. But I think given my experience and my capabilities, I tried to include as much as I could, And but yeah, definitely, I think I'm sure that it can be made more efficient for sure.
And Ankita, interestingly, a lot of the prime real estate on digital government websites goes to a photographer, Modi ji. So I still think it's slightly better. Sorry, I
yes.
but yeah, okay.
Ironically, Gunangi, it feels like, okay, there is this graphic here, and maybe I'm trying to click on the graphic to see something happens, and then there's a need help section also right there. So, nothing is happening on the graphic when I click it. So you have help right there.
Okay. All right. I think there are lots of things that one can do. I mean, starting from a very low base, I think this is definitely a drastic improvement. But yeah, there are others as well. Thanks, Gunangi. You can turn off your sharing.
Thank you so much.
Harshita, are you there?
Yes, I'm here and I'm actually with a teammate, Shubham.
Oh, nice. You got a team.
Hi.
Team
Okay,
family.
great. Finally, somebody has a team. Yeah. So, okay, just one thing for the judges. This was open for individual as well as team participation. This is the first time we are doing it. Most of our challenges are individuals, but there were requests for teams coming. So, nice to see some team members. Please do go ahead. The screen's all yours. You've got 5 minutes to present and then a Q&A, please.
Okay, thank you. Is my screen visible?
Yep.
All right, I'll start. I'm Harshita.
Hi, I'm Shubham.
So our problem statement was to redesign the GST portal for an enhanced visual look and feel. So in the original design, we've tried to see what the challenges are. And the ones we could point out were that the CTAs are not visually clear. Like there's a login button and the bottom left of the screen also, there are a few actions like find taxpayers or GST practitioners. That's not very clearly highlighted. There's important information, especially I think the due dates, which is what the users want to look at. And that's the most frequent action they take because they basically don't want to lose their money for penalties. And the overall visual look is a little bit congested. So in our redesign, we've tried to solve those problems. Visually, we've tried to make it a lot more cleaner and decluttered the space, as well as highlighting CTAs and prioritizing important information.
Yep. So for the redesign, we started out with talking to a few business owners, which like kind of tried to file their GST online. And yeah, the main thing that we found was that there was too many filings that they got confused in the dates, and they like had to check the website for the dates a lot. And the few like it was really important for them to learn how it works, because like that's not like they could learn while using the website. So yeah.
Right. So now we can dissect the different sections of our redesign of the website. So the first section is the header section. As we can see, we've included a screenshot of the original website, and the home section is always highlighted. And since it's horizontally designed, the drop down, it's a little bit confusing which hierarchy they're trying to maintain here. And the login CTA is also not very clear. It doesn't look clickable. So we have changed it to the usual vertical drop downs, which users are more familiar with, using the advantage of familiarity, and added some clear contrast CTs. Coming to the due date section, when we spoke to business owners, they told us that they mostly end up looking at the home page. The frequent action is to look at the due dates. And some of the information here is a little bit confusing because there's a deadline date and then there's a taxation month, which is given in the brackets here. And some information is hidden behind the information icons. So we've tried to change that and show everything upfront and highlighted the most important parts, which is the last date. And through our research, we found that there can be more than 15 returns they have to file in a year. Like 12 of them are done monthly, then there are quarterly and annually ones. So we've also provided a search feature for them to be able to search them. And for better readability, we've added background colors in the different rows.
Yep. So the news section here, the marquee text was like not adding much value, as it kept on moving and the users had to like wait for 30 seconds or a minute to like kind of completely read it. So like we pinned it to the top in the news and updates section. Also, there was not a proper grouping or hierarchy of text in the news and updates. So we kind of like grouped them according to the hierarchy and like placed the dates in front of them so that they make a much better key value pair. Yeah, moving on to the help section. The original help section had direct links, and as you can see, there's a bit inconsistency here, if you can see in the original design in the bottom. So we kind of tried to take the approach of the accordion components and progressive disclosure, so that like users can read a particular part of the help section. If they click on it and it expands, and if they needed to learn more, they could like click on the button and get redirected. Also, we added the logo of YouTube so that it highlights a bit that they can like click on it and watch the videos on YouTube if they wanted to. So, yep, like it was the work that we could do in such time. So we like kind of discussed about the future work that we could do if we got more time on it. So we could integrate plugins like Userway to improve the accessibility of the web portal so that there can be like, it can be more inclusive to like other users. Also, we could like improve the information architecture of the portal to make it easier for new users to understand it. And yeah, we could like in the next level, we could like deep dive into the complete flow of GST filing so that we could like identify the exact problems that user face while filing and make them easier to perform their tasks. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Nice. The first tech which got over into. Yeah, please go ahead. Ankita, please.
I just had to ask one thing. Do you guys have a scroll view of your design? Because though it is a great way to see and compare, it would look really nice to see a scroll view. Or maybe if you don't have one, I can just you can just zoom this particular thing only.
I'll just open up the prototype. We were just presenting in a presentation way.
Sure.
Just
But I'm glad someone thought about adding Userway. So at least, people are thinking about people who may be a little bit challenged about how to deal it. And I love the idea that you're using it as an API, so you don't have to sit and reinvent that stuff. But because ultimately it's a government site, and in all fairness, it should be accessible to any citizen who wants to be able to use it. And I think a lot of Western governments take a lot of pride in that. And I think it's no reason why we shouldn't be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
It's a little disappointing, though, that everything is still in English. There's no local language. Doesn't that bother anyone else?
So one thing, if you notice, Mr. Malpani, at the top, credit to them, at the top, they do have on almost all government websites, at the top, they have a very small panel. I don't know if people are able to discover it, but NIC definitely I think they have a set checklist for any government website. At the top, they'll have, a switcher for English, Hindi. At the top of the website. Mean? Yeah, that's what. So the other part is that are people able to access it? That is not solved yet.
No, in fact, I'm at gst.gov.in. There's no option for Hindi at all. There's no option for anything other than English.
That's all. They generally have a switcher right at the top. Then definitely they should have it at the top of the page. Just hold on.
Yeah, I'm on the page.
So they have skipped.
I think what you're talking about is mostly about making the font bigger and smaller.
No, they don't have it
A
here.
plus,
No,
A minus.
Yeah, they don't have it. So they missed it here. That's true.
They have a few options for accessibility and then to skip to main content.
Yeah, they don't have it.
They don't have it. Otherwise, most of the other sites, IICTs, almost all of them generally have a switcher at the top.
I think the ones that are more consumer or citizen facing tend to have it. This is slightly more business oriented. So I think they probably.
Yeah, but so businessmen are citizens too. Give us a break, guys.
Yeah.
And it's not like, anyway, again, just something which bothers me a lot.
Yeah. So the IT returns portal definitely has it. If you can check it at the top. But again, it's only Hindi. So, I mean, that's again a debatable thing. How many should you have? But yeah, it's only Hindi there. Please. Yeah. You have a prototype that you wanted to show, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think there's.
Yeah.
Yes. So can you show me how you hover over the home option or the GST option, or they don't have any options under them, and it's mostly about
they are not connected yet, but I can show
that's
you.
Okay if you can explain me.
Sure. So in the previous in the original design, they had horizontally aligned drop downs, so which was confusing because the home section was always highlighted with a lighter blue. So we added vertical drop downs, which users are more used to on websites on the internet in general.
Right. So I just wanted to ask you that the services has a drop down icon while GST law and downloads others don't have it. So when you click on downloads, is it going to take you to another screen altogether, or does it have some sort of drop down there?
Yeah, it's going to take us to another screen.
Mhm.
Because there are no
fair
handle
enough.
sections on that screen. Yeah.
Right.
Harshita, if you could scroll, if there's a scroll on this, could you scroll down? You could, yeah. So they'll get a sense of how, yeah. Okay.
All right. So yeah, just 2 cents on the design part. I think I like the simplicity of what you have done. And because I'm not really a GST user, like I don't use this website, so I can't comment much on it. But what feels a little bit difficult here is that it feels more like an information portal I have opened up rather than an actionable portal, because everything actionable is right at the top, and everything which is related to viewing and learning more about something is right in the entire website scroll. So maybe I think it's a great way to do, because like you've broken down the information and made it simple. What you could actually add is bring in a little key actions, and I think Mr. Amit or Mr. Malpani pointed out in the previous one also that if you could bring in some key actions at the top for the user, maybe like even the login or finding something which is a search bar or something at the top, like in a little fashion, and then you can start up the whole upcoming due dates part. Then it kind of becomes, I guess, it makes more sense to have this kind of a website.
Right. I think according to our research, why we chose to put this section upwards was that this was the most frequent action that people took. So we wanted to keep it up front. But definitely, I saw in the previous participants' design that the hero image can really, that's another way to go about it. And that's also wonderful.
Yeah. No, I was just saying bring in the key actions. I'm not even commenting on the hero part. Maybe like just bring in key actions with a small bar at the top, and then everything else also will show up, like upcoming due dates and everything what you have done could just flow in the same manner which is right now.
Absolutely. And I
But
think the
otherwise, good work.
idea for a global search is also like we could have included that. So we really like that.
Yeah. I was wondering when this would happen. One presentation, front presenter will start picking ideas on the previous one. But anyway, we already had the nothing's changing. Okay, Amit, anything, any questions, any thoughts?
No, I think Ankita kind of, said that. I would just underscore that point is that I would say both the previous one and this, it's actually more weird towards the information part. And it probably has to do with the fact that, Beam is something, for example, everyone uses. So we know exactly what is a task. Now, GST is not, unfortunately, something that, that average person or the designer would end up knowing it. Hence, they're kind of challenged in terms of even figuring out, okay, isme kya task kya hai. So I think the designs are kind of, biased in the other direction. Other than that, I think it's very good work.
And Mr. Malpani, any thoughts? You were saying something, anything else?
Yeah, I think, especially when it's a technically challenging thing, which is something which we don't really use as a consumer, then perhaps spending a little bit more time, or at least understanding the importance of spending more time on user research, both before and after, is definitely worth keeping in mind, especially in real life.
Yeah, fair. All right. Okay, thanks both, Harshita. Thanks, Shubham. And now we move to the last one. We are good on time. Nice to see that as well. Uppala. So Uppala has made the cut for both. He's in 1 week, he's done 2. So credit to him already. But please, Uppala, go ahead. You have your 5 minutes.
Yeah, sure.
And we'll have to see what you have to show.
Yeah, I guess my screen.
Yeah, we can see.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Yeah. Please.
So honestly, I never used the GST portal before, but I do feel there are a lot of things inside the GST portal that requires improvement. So I just went ahead and did some rough analysis of the whole GST homepage. I'll quickly walk you through the problems and their corresponding solutions. So one problem that I found out was, in the navigation bar, people have to hover over each of the name to actually know what are the elements are there inside each of these headings. So they need to, recall everything So let's say if a existing user who wants to track their application has to remember that the track application status is under the registration tab. So for that purpose, I redesigned this in a way such that all the things are at the same place. They don't probably have to hover over each thing and categorized in a way similar to what they have done. And the second problem is, so if you see there are two flows here, one is the new user and one is the existing user. So for the existing users, we already have a login button, which is easily accessible here. But when it comes to the new user, they need to scroll down to the bottom of the page to actually register on the GST portal. So to avoid that and also to utilize the space, utilize the first fold here, I kind of redesigned it in such a way that both the existing users and also the new users can go ahead and solve the issue. So I kind of use this empty space to actually educate the new user. And if a new user wants to learn more, you can probably click on learn more and know what actually a GST portal is. And coming to the third problem, I noticed that there are a lot of touch points happening at a single place. If you can see, there are news updates and there are help articles and there's due dates section, and also there's section for new users, all at a similar place, which kind of increases a bit complexity, which kind of also disobeys the Hicks law. So I try to put those things in such a way that actually caters to the new users and also as well as the existing users. So I try to put them in a first fold according to the importance of it. So if a new user if a new user will have an options to register here, and also the existing user will have option to find the GST practitioners or become a GST practitioner and find the taxpayers in the first fold itself. So coming on to the fourth problem. So if you see the due date section, there are a lot of dates that been mentioned here. So one problem here is that a user can't actually decide his nearest due date until or unless he actually goes through all the dates present here. So for that purpose, I redesigned it in such a way that he could identify the dates easily with a color code, which so the red indicates the urgency, the nearest due date, whereas the green indicates a later due date. So in this way, user can easily identify the nearest due dates. And the fifth problem is if you see the news and update section, there's only text mentioned. So which is kind of not the simplest form for user to understand. So I went ahead and added few images for that, where images are kind of the simplest form where they can get their information, understand the things easily. So that's something that I've added here. Yeah, so here's the comparison of before and after. So we have a smooth and easy navigation and a track application status banner here for the registered user. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Great. So another deck. So I think simple problem statements have faster presentation. So that one also winds up in time. Thanks, Uppala. Yeah. So any questions? I think a lot of the things that were asked earlier, I think this deck definitely kind of already answers. Please go ahead, Ankita, Amit, Mr.
Yeah, this is an amazing, I mean, it's much more user friendly. It's kind of, you don't feel, oh God, now what am I supposed to do next? It invites you in and it kind of says, hey, we care about you as a user. We want to make your life easier. So this was extremely impressive. One thing I must say, Upala, the first time the amount of user research you've done was very impressive. What happened this time, or was there just too much on your plate?
So GST is something that I really am not familiar with.
Right.
Yeah, I think.
No, but the last time you'd done a Google form and you'd got people, just curious.
Yeah, so I really haven't, got really users who uses these GST portals.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I did try to find out few users, but seems like they are not really interested in giving out such information. So,
Mr. Malpan, let me share an insight. When you ask this question to most designers who are wary of user research, this is the answer you get. I did not find users.
Correct.
I'm not trying to point fingers, but this is a fact. I know it's a difficult task, and it's difficult to get people to spend some time with you. But this is a common answer. So,
but actually, I'm going to come back to this, after we finish.
Please, definitely.
So we'll come back to it. But please, does
Yeah.
Ankita have anything to say?
Yeah, Ankita, Amit, please.
Yeah, I would say fantastic, Upla. This is great. This is exactly what I was talking about in the second presentation, that if you can bring in some key important actions. And I think you've done it beautifully. I really like how, this has come up. The way you've kind of structured the information, the way you have highlighted some important actions. So there's a good play of hierarchy of information. Plus, there's a foreground and a background to the entire website, which is very, very important for a website. The current website had a problem of hierarchy, and there was no, I would say, an important thing getting highlighted. I think this thing you've achieved very well in this particular work. Only two senses, this image which you have along with the words like simple and easy and one India, one market. Maybe they should not be clashing with your CTA, so you can tone it down. I think that's the only UX bit which I would have to say from here. Yeah, but otherwise, great work.
Thank you.
Amit?
No, I don't have any specific questions, but this is good work.
Great. All right. No questions. So we are done with all the three, in fact, all the six. Judges can take the time to, score all the three.
But I must say some of the makeovers have been remarkable, and especially given the fact, I'm happy that you gave them only 7 days because, without a deadline, everyone just procrastinates. So I think that was good.
To be very honest, Mr. Malpaning, so this is a trend that we see how the traffic picks up on the site. We always see that if you give them 15 days, it's still going to be the last 2 days or 3 days. That's how it's worked always with us. In fact, even all our filings are that way. Like IT returns filing is this day. You'll wait till the 20th. The government may extend it. It's an honest fact. But yeah, good work. I mean, in 1 week to pull it off is pretty fantastic. Most of these folks are working professionals also, right? Some of them are working and they took part in this. Students as well. So there are a lot of students here as well.
Which is why I'm so optimistic about the future of this country. That whatever mess we hand it over to you guys in, hopefully, you can't mess it any more than we've already done. We'll do a good job.
Positive way of looking at it.
But I have 3 or 4 things. One is I would have suggested every website should have a bug reporting feature.
Yeah.
Which someone needs to know, I got stuck or I didn't understand, and then it needs to go back again to whoever is responsible for it so they can fix some of these issues. I think the second thing is there needs to be some kind of more hand-holding or onboarding videos or whatever, so that, a lot of it is just too much to take, but it's helpful to have someone to, where you're stuck. And I think that's pretty standard for most websites.
Yeah.
I think 2 other points. One is that after we've done all this, now at least we can fill in some of the user research. In the sense, release the new redesigns, get people to chime in and say, tell us, do you think this is better or worse, or how can we improve it? Because let's tap into the wisdom of the crowds. Yeah. I think with 7 days, there wasn't much opportunity, but I don't want this to end here is my limited point. And I think finally, the most important thing is, what do we do to convince the government officer who's responsible for this to actually do something about it? Do we use the power of social media, Twitter? I don't know what, but that's something else I'd like to leave you guys with, because it must be very frustrating for a designer to spend all that time and effort the research coming up, which is so much better and cooler, and then no one does anything about it. I think we need to end up closing the loop, but that's it.
Yeah. I think we'll take help for Amit. Amit will be the right person.
Yeah, we'll have Amit here on how do we convince them?
How do we? Yeah.
Now that we have the masala.
So I think, social media can definitely play a important role here. I mean, you see how people use and abuse social media in so many ways.
Yeah.
So I think there's no harm in kind of, putting this out on Twitter and Facebook and tagging the right people. And apart from that, you should also kind of, just write a small synopsis of this event that you've had.
Yeah.
Sure.
Link it to some report and then send it to the senior officers in these two ministries. And I can help you kind of locate the right people. Besides that, I'll also try to look internally if I can, through my sources in METI, if I can kind of locate the specific people. But if that is possible, that's great. But otherwise, I think I'll help you out in trying to zoom into the specific people. And what I've seen is actually now things are changing everywhere, including the government.
True.
And many of these senior officers, they are either on social media or somebody else handling the social media accounts for them. They tend to keep a lookout for emails coming in. So I'm hopeful that they actually respond to it in a positive way.
All right. Well, that's all
You know,
that's needed.
Amit, we're quite happy. We're quite happy to make that government officer the hero of the project. And say thanks to his initiative that this happened.
Yeah.
You know, as long as it helps make the end user's life, which is all of us, easier,
Yes.
that's really not a problem.
All right.
Definitely.
The scoring's pretty much done. Ankita, any thoughts on this as well as the previous three? Any feedback generally? Because I'm sure you'll have some insights which maybe that time you couldn't share. If you have, please do go. Please.
Yeah, I would just like to say, as I earlier also pointed out, that I do understand the timeline that you were given was just 7 days, and it's very difficult, especially for the payment app, that ecosystem, to actually understand all those things and then get into the nitty gritties, and even just the payment flow itself is complicated in its own because there are so many elements out there. But I would say that while you do take inspiration from the Google Pay app or the Paytm or the PhonePe or any other payment app which is around you, I would really say that try to first understand the pain point of the existing product which you are trying to solve from, because I did see a good amount of user research from the designers here, but I still saw the lack of that pain point mapping, that what exactly is the problem statement we are solving for. The problem statement was not really clear. I could see a lot of redesign work really from the Beam app. But and as Mr. Malpani also pointed out earlier, we don't need to really reinvent the wheel. But if you kind of map your design decision to the pain points which you are trying to solve for, it kind of makes up for a better story, and then it also puts into perspective of what is already existing and what you have tried to do and why you have tried to do. So if there's something which is existing in a certain way, and if you still feel that it is right and there's no pain point out there, it just makes it easier to understand and see what is, what are we trying to change here and what exactly are we trying to solve for. So those are my 2 cents, especially for not just this project but any other project you do.
All right, great. So
Amit, sorry, I want to ask him one question.
Sure.
You know, suppose, for example, all government websites had something like, help us improve, or can you provide us with feedback, or what would you like, or where did you get stuck? Is there some way that at the back end they have some kind of a ticketing system, some of which comes from the end user? Because obviously the traffic on these sites is huge. And I think unless we close that loop, designers aren't going to know really what's bothering users, and we're going to either have to do primary research on our own, but it'll be such a small sample size, whereas you could actually do it on a regular basis on these live websites. Is there any reason why government sites don't do that?
See, I think the first thing to appreciate is that this is all very disaggregated and disjointed. So it's not one agency or one organization which is doing it. There's a central government, there's a state government, then there are within the center there are public sector, and then there are quasi government. So that's one of my learnings when I started working in the government, is that we tend to think of government as central government, as state government, but in reality there is actually 7 or 8 different species here. So it's kind of very disaggregated. I would say that what you are describing, the need for citizens to actually chime in and give suggestions, some of that is happening centrally via this MyGov app, and sometimes they run these some kind of promotional campaigns or events. Other than that, many of these government sites now are actually quite active on Twitter, by the way. So because Twitter has become this major, media thing that, I think for all practical purposes, all these PRs and the press releases that used to happen, they're all like gone out of the window. The only thing people do is go out and tweet. So we can actually use that to our advantage. And I think a couple of things, since we are talking about the government, and let me share. So I also felt that the point that Ankita made is that, see, every time you kind of do a redesign project, the first thing that you have to do is to establish the goal. Why are you doing it? Right. And the moment you ask that question, that why kind of starts, it has to be broken down into its different elements. So that was something I found, that to varying degrees, I think some of the solutions had kind of, established a clear goal as to why they were doing it. Okay. The other point that is worth making, and this is kind of primarily coming from my experience of working and building stuff in the government, is that, see, a lot of, so right now you're working largely on the front end layer and the visual layer, right? But a lot of these government services in general, and also actually in the private sector nowadays, are kind of, dependent on APIs. So the uptime of the API, the response time of the API, whether the API failed, how did you degrade it? I'll give you an example in DigiLocker is that, so we use the Aadhaar APIs, and the Aadhaar APIs, the government has a very elaborate system of, AUAs and KUAs, they are called. They are the distribution partners for how the Aadhaar APIs are kind of, they can be accessed. Now, we have a restriction in the government is that we are forced to kind of use a government only AUA, which is NIC. And the response time of these APIs from the NIC never goes beyond 75 or 80%, right? Whereas if we had the freedom to kind of, as DigiLocker, go and use one of the private AUA KUAs, the response time could have been 95 or 98%. Unfortunately, what this means is that on DigiLocker, while the interfaces might be great, but the reality is that the API which is feeding the interface is kind of stuck at 80%. So, which means that out of 5 people, 4 people are going to get a good experience, and 1 person is going to be perennially disappointed. There's no way to solve for that problem, because government's procurement rules say that you got to use a government tool. So think at that level, is that don't just think in terms of the front end layer. Think also in terms of the linkages with the database. Think in terms of the APIs. What happens if the APIs break? How do you kind of degrade that? What is the kind of messaging that you do that? I think that would be very useful if you kind of bake that into your solutions as well.
Always, I'm sure there will be a lot of insights if we continue, but we got to, I'm sure they want to know score kya hai, bata do, kaun jeeta bata do. So we'll come to that. Small clarification is needed. Just help me out, Ruchira and Ayush, because the presentations were presented in reverse order from the way the scoring sheet is. I just want a clarification from Amit and Anirudh. So you just show your decks once, just to ensure that the scores are aligned accordingly. So Ruchira, Ayush actually, sorry. Ayush, please go ahead with your deck. Amit and Anirudh, Mr. Malpani, please have a look at the decks once again and see if the scores are exactly, because we change the order from the scoring sheet. So just have a look at it once. Ayush, please quickly just go through it so that everybody is aware of what we present.
So I need to present it once again.
Yeah, just quickly just show it through so that they have a memory, because we change the order, right? Because you were not able to present first. Yeah, so I think his was the one which had the Google form and the research.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the score. All right.
Yeah, so this is Ayush, right?
Yeah, this is Ayush. This is Ayush. Okay. Just go through the screens and yeah, he went into the research and this is the redesign, and Ankita had a few questions. Cool. I think that's clear. And yeah, you can turn it off, Ayush. And Ruchira, could you share yours?
Yeah. My screens were these.
Yeah.
And my presentation was this one.
All right. Goals, process, target. Cool. All right. Yeah. So just want to confirm, Amit, right? In the
your scores are fine.
Yeah, that's good to go. Yeah.
All right. So we have the results. We'll go with green first, and we'll start in reverse order. Number 3 and Upala. Thank you. Amazing work. Great work. Yeah. You're third. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Any words, Ankita, if you guys recall what Upala had done, but he's there. If you have any suggestions or feedback to him, you could give that. My own thoughts, Upala, I think great work that you had put in. A lot of nice elements that were there. But I think the competition was really difficult from both. And I think the primary research part is one thing that is important across, I mean, in both the decks as well. So that's my own personal view, though I'm not a designer or any at the same level as the judges here. But if you guys have any feedback for
But I think he was ambitious. He did both and got into this thing. So full marks for that.
Yeah,
that's true.
Okay, then number 2, second is Ruchira. Congratulations, Ruchira. Well done. Congrats. Nice work.
Thank you.
And hers, as you just saw, was the redesign with the card layout and that. Ankita, Amit, any feedback for Ruchira that you have? She was the first to present, so obviously maybe a little nerves. And I think the time got her a little bit, but nice work, Ruchira.
Yeah, I especially like the visual interface and the visual design for Ruchira's work. That was very well done, actually.
Nice work. Nice work, Ruchira. Okay. And obviously that means the winner is Ayush. Congratulations. Fantastic work. My own thoughts, when we saw the deck, we were like, this research. In fact, we were not too happy with your design, to be very honest. We were like, he's just taken element and put in, but the research was so nice. And me and Nishit were debating that should we put it in or not, because there were other designs which were better. They didn't make the shortlist, but your research was definitely way better than anybody else's. Impactful, highlighting the right areas. Obviously, Ankita had a few things that she suggested as well. But I think great work in the research. And we really love research. When people do good research, even if the design, because see, design is something that is iterative. You're all young designers, we'll keep learning, we'll keep improving. But if you get the research part in place, I'm sure you'll improve even better. So congratulations to you. The jury members, if you have any feedback for Ayush, since you like this deck so much.
No, actually the research was fantastic, I would say. He really kind of, was very granular. He kind of, asked the right questions. Very impressive.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. And let me tell you, the fight was pretty close. It was just 0.3 of a gap between the three average between the first and second. So Ruchira, don't feel bad about it. It was very, very close.
Very close.
But that's all I can share right now. Now coming to the GST ones, and I think this is also, we have a clear winner in this. But third place is to Harshita and I think Shubham, right? Harshita and Shubham, nice job. Well done. Congratulations. Nice work by you guys. I think one suggestion, my own suggestion when I was looking at the deck was, to be honest, I had, again, like all of us here, I've not used the GST portal, and the pain point that was addressed was the dates. You did address it, but you did not, then you kind of deprioritize everything else. So as Amit was also mentioning, right, it looks like an information portal. That would be a great, we have an events page on our site, and I could definitely connect with that. I was like, we put the dates first up. That's what we had also done. And then there was nothing to action. And we have screen recordings to find out what people are doing. People were helpless. What do I do? So even if people didn't want it, we went and put a CTA there. We put a few actions. We said, okay, go here, do this. Then because people don't act immediately if you don't tell them to act. That's the honest fact. While you solve the real problem which your user research gave you, you solved only that problem and ignored the other problems that are pretty evident when the other decks.
One quick question. Are you working remotely as a team, or just curious? Are you physically together?
Or remotely?
Sorry?
Remotely.
Okay. That's impressive. I think, the fact that you're being able to work together as a team is going to be very, very
So that's the new norm. Every one of our, so this is the first team event, but all of you guys are fantastic working remotely. Can vouch for that. They've somehow kind of born in that way, I guess. I don't know. The pandemic kind of made it even more, but they just enjoy working remotely more. I'm pretty sure. Okay. Now, any other feedback, Ankita, you had things to share, and also anything else that you would like to add to what you shared? Amit, anything else for Shubham and Harshita? Nothing? All right. Now, the second place then is to Gunangi. Excellent work. Really like the way you presented it. There were obviously things that, were highlighted, but the way you went about and, tried to, even with the last hero image, I saw in the last minute also, you were trying to create an impact. Keep that. And then also work on the suggestions that were already through. Really nice work. Impressive. Very well done.
Very nice. Yeah.
And then the final winner, obviously, Upala, fantastic. We don't have him on the screen, unfortunately, but I think great work. I mean, hit the bullseye, right? Every element that was needed, you've done it. Congratulations, Upal. Are you there? I don't know if you're there.
Yep, I'm there.
You're there?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Many congratulations.
Thank you.
And that's pretty much it, guys. If you want, you can take a screenshot of this. We can all wave or something if you want it. I do not have a confetti or anything to show here. That's the odd thing about these virtual kind of things. Otherwise, you could have shook hands and taken a pic. But that's pretty much it. Thank you so much, all of you, for taking part. And as Mr. Malpani is also saying, this is an experiment. So if you have any last parting thoughts on what other experiment you would like to do with this, or how we can amplify this. Oh, sorry, just one thing. All of you guys, if you are on Twitter, then please do go ahead and tag us, tag these jury members. We'll try and amplify ourselves as well.
Yes, definitely.
Make sure you put this out as a kind of a Medium article or something. That really helps. You've seen that land people jobs as well.
Correct.
Explain your thought process and you present it to an audience. That is one way of creating impact and getting people to hear for yourself, as well as as portals that we all use. That's one way definitely you should do after the event. Very few people do it. That's why I'm stressing on doing it. When you do it, you'll see what benefits, and we'll help you draft it also if you want. You can send the drafts to me. I'll edit.
I think it echoes with the point of Dr. Malpani. What he was saying, right? The selling part is we need to find now we have to sell it. We have to sell it.
Find the
I'm very, very impressed. I think you guys put in tons of work. This is extremely high quality stuff. Some requests. I'd like feedback from you guys as to what we could have done better in order to organize this competition better. I'd love feedback from Ankita and Amit. What can we do better to be able to improve the entire ecosystem? Like I said, this is just an experiment. What do we do in order to get people to tap in? I don't know why the government doesn't do it, but if they don't do it on their own, what can we do to act as that bridge to cover the gap? But importantly, as designers, I think this is part of your digital portfolio. You spent a week doing this. You need to be able to repackage it, repurpose it, amplify it, tell your story, do it in public. What excited me about the challenge, what I enjoyed, what I would have liked better, what I hope will happen. This is the voice. You guys have the platform today. Please make use of it so that we can hear your voices. That's my only request.
Yeah, and feedback we are most good and bad. Please, you can share it here or you can DM us anytime. What we would have done better to make it. In fact, I was slightly disappointed, to be very honest, Mr. Malpani. I expected they were challenging, like the IT returns portal.
That is a tough problem.
Did not get the quality that we had expected. So we did not put a shortlist there. But it is a complicated challenge. If you look at the problem statement also, in fact, to you guys also, if you want to practice a real problem to solve, these were easy ones. That is a real problem to solve. How to simplify that, especially for somebody who's doing ITR 4 now with all these investments and capital gains, those annexures, that's crazy. I'm sure you'll do it one day. When you do it, you'll realize, hey, I can do better. But you can take those as problem statements as well. But any suggestions on how we can get more people to participate, create more of a noise, please do DM us anytime. You can share here as well. But yeah, Ankita and Amit, any suggestions on how we can do even better? Because Mr. Malpani said to us that I want to run experiments. So we love running experiments as well.
I think it'll be useful if, in some way, some government department or agency could be a part of this initiative. And, maybe I can try to help you out next time you're doing it. I can share, something which is actually going to happen. And it's taken us many, many years to get to this stage. So, I think the government recently, just actually last week only, I was sitting in a presentation where for the first time, the government has realized the value of design and UX. So what they've done is that, and Sarkar mein kya hota hai na ki finally if it is important for them, then they'll want to make a policy, they'll form a team, a committee bathayenge. Jab tak till the time you hit, those milestones, it hasn't really kind of dawned on them. So while I think a lot of work has happened over the years, and that kind of shows up in the new age product that the government has, which you'll realize is definitely better than what we had earlier. Still, it has a long way to go. But the good news is that I think, so for the first time I saw this in MeetY. So they're actually trying to put together a project hoga, uska ek budget hoga, then uske upar PR hoga. And this is solely and exclusively devoted to UX and design in the government.
Nice, very nice, very nice.
Wow. So which means that, it's not as if, you are just kind of barking up a tree which is not responding to you. I think things are improving there. Next time you have it, reach out to me. I'll try to connect you to the team. And it'll be good to have some kind of a government participation or their blessing, which will also kind of help you out.
we can actually take credit for this, and we can actually, given the fact that this time frame is coming up, the way you've described, we said, hey, we finally prodded the government into taking action, and they actually did something. This is great. I think let's
Everything is messaging, sir. Everything is messaging. How you message it. Ankita,
so you should, I mean, I'm assuming that you'll put together a blog post.
Definitely. We'll do.
Now that we have
what
the
happened in the event and all these winning entries, and also do send the link to me, because I'll share it on my social media profiles. I'll also send it to some of the people in the ministry for sure.
Yeah.
Great. Definitely.
Ankita, suggestions on how we could amplify, do better?
Yeah, I think this was a great platform, and this was a great exercise. I think it lagged on the PR of it in terms of you could have increased your reach by maybe going to colleges and presenting this challenge like a little earlier, just telling them that, hey, we are doing this challenge, and now everything is remote, so you don't really need to really go. But prepare a poster, which you already did, and of the event, and just go to the colleges and see if they're interested in participating, because there's no entry fee or there's nothing really the college has to pay to enter this challenge. I think they can leave it on the students to actually participate, and then maybe increase the reach of the PR a bit in terms of people knowing about this challenge a lot and who is eligible, who's not, because that kind of helps. The more ideas you have, the more people you have participating, it just kind of makes it a little more interesting to judge.
We'd love for that to happen as well, but our efforts are also needed. So next time, definitely colleges, 100%.
And maybe you can keep a panel of designers to actually evaluate those case studies while shortlisting, along with you and Nishit too.
Sure.
Because it kind of helps to see the quality of work also, and also to judge on the basis of that.
Definitely.
So I think that would be great.
Great.
And I think one of the things you should try doing is roping in some celebrity judges.
I thought किया है कोशिश यहाँ मतलब थोड़ी तो की है.
I think that's great, but the thing
you all are celebrity on your own.
No. We recognize them as celebrities. Sometimes you need a little bit of however you want to call it, hype or whatever else. And sometimes you choose the right judges who already have a significant following and stuff. Then obviously that creates this positive cycle, and then they can promote it to whoever their audience is. Just something you might want to think about.
Absolutely.
Sure, definitely.
Okay, that's pretty much it for now. Yeah, Nishit, anything you saying?
No, I think good points. Yeah, that's something we'll definitely look upon in the next one.
We've gone past our 5:30, but please go ahead.
You need to let the guys know when they're going to get their prize money and stuff.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So we have a WhatsApp group with these participants. Where we'll definitely, we are already in touch with them. So don't worry about it. Your prizes will be out soon, very quickly. Mr. Malpani has kindly given the grant first up. We'll have your payments. Hopefully via Bheem. We'll see if we can do that, or maybe even Google Play. Okay. Thank you so much for your time. The judges, thanks so much. And
thank you so much.
See you soon, hopefully in another hackathon. Very soon.
Thank you. Sure.